welcome to our REVIT 2012 Work Plane Viewer series here. And of course, I say this all the time, a lot of the stuff we teach here at CADclips is really applicable to all the different vertical disciplines of REVIT, be it architecture, structure, or MEP. So this is good for everyone basically. So in 2012, REVIT added something called the Work Plane Viewer, which is on the Home tab at the very end over here. It's grayed out right now because I am in a drafting view and I just have some text. And all we're going to do here is talk a little bit here in this lesson on the theory of how it works and what the really what the reason for it is and how you can apply it. Then we're going to go through and do some really great examples and test it all out, and then you can just migrate it into your own day-to-day work process as you see fit. Really good for families and stuff. So I've just got some notes in our opening lesson here, so we'll just kind of fire through this, and it's not as long as some of the lists that you've seen with me in the past, so we should be able to get through this fairly quickly. So the Work Plane Viewer added in 2012 is available for all disciplines: architecture, structure, and MEP. Okay, I personally see a really great application for this with REVIT MEP, specifically with plenum spaces and all the elements and ductwork and piping and all the stuff that's hosted by ceilings and that, and really neat. I can see a great application for the MEP people here who can take this lesson and then kind of run with it themselves. Now, I just have a personal note here in that if you've ever been in the middle of making a family in REVIT, okay, and you can't seem to get either A, to the correct work plane, or B, get a decent view perpendicular to the sketching plane. I know I've struggled and I find it frustrating because I know what I'm trying to draw, but I can't get to that work plane and I can't get a good view of the work plane. So you just kind of give up. It's really tricky. You end up making reference planes and all kinds of stuff, which you can still do, but with the viewer it's really going to help. Okay, so I often think, while I'm working in these families and in-place families and stuff like that, of my old AutoCAD UCS command. Okay, I was the king of the UCS command, and then of course the DUCS came in a few years back, which is the dynamic UCS, and really made it easy in AutoCAD to draw on any surface very quickly. And to get a good kind of view of that using the UCS command. So now in REVIT, with this 3D work plane viewer, it really is a tool that seems to solve that problem where I don't get that urge to go back and use my AutoCAD UCS command now that I've started using the new work plane viewer. So the work plane viewer is 3D, although when you first go in and open it up, it is always a plan position, the home position when you first open the viewer. It's its own little window, and you'll see that. And its home position is always oriented perpendicular to the current work plane. So even though it's a 3D viewer, when you first open it, it's always a 2D kind of plan view, and you have to use your shift middle mouse button to kind of swivel around and you'll see a section box. It's kind of neat. Okay, so keep in mind that the home position is oriented perpendicular to the current work plane. Okay, whenever you're sketching or drawing, or if you're on level 1, it sets that to be the work plane. If you're on level 5, it sets that to be the work plane. You go into the viewer and you can swivel and you'll see what the effect is. Okay, within the work plane viewer, all elements hosted on that current work plane are selectable and editable. Okay, so when you go into the work plane viewer, all of the objects that are on the current work plane, you can pick them and you can edit them and you can modify them and change their properties and do it. But you cannot select objects that are unhosted. So unhosted elements are shown grayed out, or it depends on the view. Maybe you won't even see them because of the 3D section box. But the point being, first is the work plane. What is your current work plane? The elements on there are editable. Elements not on the current work plane are grayed out and are not editable, which is an advantage. That's what you want to do. It isolates the objects you want to edit. Okay. If you change your work plane and go back into your work plane viewer, it will reset itself to be reflecting the current work plane. Okay, the viewer works with the current work plane. But the funny thing is, within the work plane viewer window, you cannot actually change the work plane, which you have to kind of think you would almost expect it to, but then it makes sense that it doesn't once you understand the logic. So we'll see that. The viewer doesn't tile. So the work plane viewer doesn't tile, but it's good. It's like it's a picture-in-picture. It always sits on top. It always remains on top. So you can move it to a second window. If you have dual monitors, you can take your work plane viewer and put it on your second screen and make it really big and use it all the time. Basically leave it open all the time. So the work plane viewer can be resized by stretching the corners, but there is no maximum and minimum toggles. It's either on or off, or you stretch it. That's it, and then it sits there. I'm going to have it sitting up in here, but you might want to make it a bit bigger. Okay, the work plane viewer also relies heavily on and makes use of a 3D section box. If you've ever gone into a 3D view and turned the section box on, you know what I'm talking about. So the 3D viewer takes full advantage of this. Okay, and it also associates the initial section box with the crop region if it's a plan view. Crop regions are in plan views. The 3D section box will reflect that crop region. The viewer has its own view cube. You can use that just like in regular 3D mode. And you can use a shift middle mouse button to orbit around and zoom in and zoom out. So the regular 3D control and movement is the same in the viewer. You cannot change the current work plane from within the viewer. Okay, I've already stated that. You have to make a different view active, then change the current work plane, then go back to the work plane viewer. From within the work plane viewer, you cannot change the current work plane. Some users find it useful to drag the viewer over to a second monitor, okay, which I've already said. The work plane viewer can be a quick way to isolate a specific floor plan. So it works different with different objects. If you're in the family editor, you're going to use it a bit differently. But floor plans have a nice effect. When you go in and you open it up, it slices it and only shows you that layer and only lets you edit the objects on that floor plan. Makes it really easy to isolate objects. It's like a separate portal into a 3D view. You can edit elements and properties and generate new content from within the viewer. So you can really draw from within the viewer. You can edit things, change them, go into sketch mode. It's not just a viewer. You can actually edit in there and change properties and stuff too. You may find some limitations, but for the most part, it's usable to draw in. Okay, and I've also found just when things don't quite kind of look right or the work plane isn't highlighted, sometimes what I do is close the work plane viewer, then reopen it again and it'll reset itself. So close and reopen it if you want. Sometimes that helps if you get into a jam. The work plane viewer can be used for project elements. It can be used in place families. Okay, it can be used with external families and also with conceptual massing. So the work plane viewer can be used in all four of these different environments. Okay. It actually helps to give you a clearer picture of exactly what work plane the elements are hosted by. So even if you don't edit anything, sometimes just going into the work plane viewer just gives you a different perspective and lets you see what elements are hosted on what work plane. Even a visual purpose, it's there. So that's our opening theory on the work plane viewer, and as you would well know, we're going to dive in next and try it out in a couple of these different environments.